Welcome back to Ref Me Up 2.0, the Rookie Guide. Today we are covering Section 3 of the CCA Football Officiating Manual, Officiating Standards. This is the field guide. While Section 2 gave you philosophical axioms for how to approach officiating, Section 3 gives you the specific rules-based standards that have been adopted for all NCAA games. These are the enforcement decisions, the default rulings, and situational judgments that officials are expected to make consistently and correctly across every game, every crew, every conference. 15 categories: ball spotting, line of scrimmage, fumbles, defensive pass interference, offensive pass interference, other passing situations, blocking, kicking plays, plays at the sideline, scoring plays, personal fouls, unsportsmanlike conduct, game clock, miscellaneous, and collaborative replay. We are going through every one. Ball spotting. Standard 1. After a change of possession, the ball can be placed on a yard line to begin the next series. For example, if a punt return ends with the ball between Team B's 33 and 34 yard lines, move the ball forward to Team B's 34-yard line. This makes the game more efficient and reduces ambiguity about the exact spot. Exception: if the change of possession occurs on a fourth down running or passing play, the ball will be left at the dead ball spot to begin the next series. Standard 2. If a punt is down on the ground inside Team B's 5-yard line, the ball should be left exactly where it is and not moved to the next yard line. At all other times, the ball is placed where it became dead. Now, line of scrimmage. 11 specific standards. Standard 1. When in question as to whether an action is a false start or illegal motion, it is a false start. False start is the default. Standard 2. Officials will work to keep offensive linemen legal. Call only when it is obvious or when a warning to the player and a subsequent warning to the coach have been ignored. Do not wait until the fourth quarter to enforce this rule. Treat formation warnings separately for normal scrimmage downs, punts, and field goal and patty attempts. Standard 3. Ineligible lineman alignment. If the ineligible lineman's helmet is breaking the line drawn through the snapper's waistline, he is legally on the line of scrimmage. If his helmet is anywhere between the snapper's waistline and the snapper's rear end, a warning should be given, but a foul will be called if multiple warnings have already been given. If the offensive player is lined up with his head clearly behind the rear end of the snapper, a foul will be called without any warning. Standard 4. Don't be technical on a wide receiver or slot back in determining whether they are off the line of scrimmage. Any wide receiver lined up more than 1 yard off the line of scrimmage is considered in the backfield. When in question, it is not a foul. Standard 5. Wide receivers or slot backs lined up outside a tight end will be ruled on the line of scrimmage and covering the tight end if there is not clear separation between their alignments. Any covered wide receiver intentionally lined up in an ineligible position must meet the same requirements as an originally ineligible lineman. If in question, they are not covered up. Standard 6. Anytime defense moves into the neutral zone causing the offense to move, a player is moving toward the offensive player. This protects that player and the 2 adjacent offensive players. Standard 7. Anytime a defensive player initially aligned tight to the line of scrimmage jumps forward, and there is a question whether they were in the neutral zone and the appropriate offensive player or players move, shut down the play and penalize the defense. Standard 8. Anytime a defensive player shoots the gap, and there is a question as to contact, err on the side of offside and shut the play down. The purpose is to avoid giving a free shot on the quarterback. Standard 9. Formations during the execution of a trick or unusual play have the highest degree of scrutiny and must be completely legal. Standard 10. When in question, a quick or abrupt movement by the center or quarterback is a false start. Standard 11. The snapper shall not move the ball more than 1/2 yard forward when taking his stance, nor allow the ball to be moved over the line to gain or goal line. Shut down the play, reset the ball, and warn the player and his coach. A foul for a false start shall be considered after a warning. Fumbles. 2 simple, critical defaults. Standard 1. When in question, the runner fumbled the ball and was not down. Standard 2. When in question regarding whether the quarterback passed or fumbled, it will be ruled a fumble. Both of these defaults protect against the most common judgment errors on loose ball plays. When you are not certain, the default is fumble. Not incomplete pass. Not down by contact. Fumble. Now, defensive pass interference. The following actions constitute defensive pass interference, including but not limited to these 6 categories. These apply when all other requirements for DPI have been met. Category 1. Early contact by a defender who is not playing the ball is defensive pass interference, regardless of how deep the pass is thrown to the receiver. Category 2. Playing through the back of a receiver in an attempt to make a play on the ball. Category 3. Grabbing and restricting a receiver's arms or body in such a manner that restricts their opportunity to catch a pass. Category 4. Extending an arm across the body of a receiver, an arm bar, restricting their ability to catch a pass. This applies regardless of whether the defender is looking for the ball. Category 5. Cutting off or riding the receiver out of the path to the ball by making contact without playing the ball. Category 6. Hooking and restricting a receiver in an attempt to get to the ball in a manner that causes the receiver's body to turn prior to the ball arriving. The key principle running through all 6 categories: Contact that restricts a receiver's opportunity to catch the ball, not just any contact, is the standard. Offensive pass interference. For categories. Category 1. Initiating contact with a defender by shoving or pushing off, creating separation in an attempt to catch a pass. Category 2. Driving through a defender who has established a position on the field. Category 3. Blocking downfield during a pass that legally crosses the line of scrimmage. Category 4. Picking off a defender who is attempting to cover a receiver. Not offensive pass interference. 3 specific exceptions. Exception 1. OPI for downfield blocking will not be called if the passer is legally grounding the ball out of bounds, near or beyond the sideline. Exception 2. OPI will not be called on a screen pass when the ball is overthrown behind the line of scrimmage, but lands beyond it, and Team A players are blocking downfield, unless that blocking prevents a defensive player from catching the ball. Exception 3. On a pick play, it is not OPI if the defensive player is blocking the offensive player when the pick occurs and the offensive player does not make a separate action, or if the blocker's entire body is clearly not beyond the neutral zone. Now, other passing situations. 10 standards. Standard 1. When in question on action against the passer, it is roughing the passer if the defender attempts to punish. Standard 2. The Team A player who originally controls the snap can throw the ball anywhere if they are not under duress, except spiking the ball straight down. The clock is not a factor. Exception. Rule 732F allows the passer to spike the ball to stop the clock. Standard 3. An uncatchable pass must be blatantly uncatchable in order to disregard a foul for pass interference. Standard 4. When the Team A player who originally controls the snap is outside the tackle box and is throwing the ball away to avoid a sack, when in question as to whether the ball is beyond the neutral zone, it is beyond the line. Don't be technical. Standard 5. If in question as to whether passers are or have been outside the tackle box, they are outside the tackle box. Standard 6. Up to 5 yards between where a pass lands in bounds and the nearest eligible receiver may be used for determining the receiver is in the area during short passes or when the receiver is relatively stationary. Increase this distance on long passes and when the receiver is running toward the spot where the pass lands. When the pass lands out of bounds, an eligible receiver is in the area if they are between the top of the numbers and the sideline, or in the end zone, and the pass is thrown over the vicinity of the receiver's head. Standard 7. If the passer is contacted after starting the passing motion, it may be ruled no intentional grounding due to that contact. Standard 8. If the passer is contacted clearly before starting the passing motion, there will be a foul for intentional grounding if there is no eligible receiver in the vicinity, or if the pass does not reach the line of scrimmage after the quarterback has been outside the tackle box. Standard 9. If an interception is near the goal line, and there is a question as to whether possession is gained in the field of play or end zone, make the play a touchback. Standard 10. If the passer is legally throwing the ball away and it lands near or beyond the sideline, do not penalize the offense for having ineligible players downfield. Blocking. 12 standards. Standard 1. If a player is illegally blocked or held into making a tackle, no foul should be called unless the action is a personal foul, or there is an element of time between the foul and the tackle. Standard 2. Obvious and intentional takedowns create special focus and should be called. Standard 3. If there is a potential offensive holding, but the action occurs clearly away from the point of attack and has no, or could have no, effect on the play, offensive holding should not be called. Standard 4. If there is a potential defensive holding, but the action occurs clearly away from the point of attack and has no effect on the play, defensive holding should not be called. Example, a defensive back on the opposite side of the field holding a wide receiver on a design run play to the other side. Standard 5. For blocks in the back, if one hand is on the number and the other hand is on the side and the initial force is on the number, it is a block in the back. The force of the block could be slight and still a foul if the contact propels the player past the runner or prevents the player from making the play. If the force is clearly from the side, it is not a foul. If the blocker is in chase mode, all the action must be from the side to be legal. Standard 6. Blocks that start on the side and subsequently end up in the back are not fouls as long as contact is maintained throughout the block. Standard 7. Blocks in the back that occur at or about the same time a runner is being tackled should not be called, unless they are in the nature of a personal foul or there is forcible contact that involves player safety. Standard 8. A grab of the receiver's jersey that materially restricts the receiver and takes away their feet should be defensive holding if other criteria are met, and could also be defensive pass interference. Standard 9. Holding can be called even if the quarterback is subsequently sacked, provided there is an element of time between the foul and the tackle. Standard 10. Rarely should holding be called on a double team block unless there is a takedown or the defender breaks the double team and is pulled back. Standard 11. When in question whether an illegal block occurs in the end zone or the field of play, it occurs in the field of play. Standard 12. Regarding blocking below the waist, when in question, the ball has not left the tackle box. Kicking plays. 7 standards. Standard 1. The kicker's restraining line on onside and short pooch kickoffs should be officiated as a plane. Any player, other than the kicker or holder, breaking the plane before the ball is kicked should be called for offside. When in doubt, the kicking team player has not broken the plane. The same plane applies on normal kickoffs, but officials should not be too technical about players breaking the plane on normal kickoffs. Standard 2, an illegal block in the back can be called on fair catches, but not if the illegal block occurs away from the play as the fair catch is being made, or the play results in a touchback and contact is slight. Note, personal fouls should always be called, as should forcible contact that involves player safety. Standard 3, it shall always be roughing the kicker when there is forcible contact to the plant leg, whether or not that leg is on the ground. It shall be running into the kicker if a defender simply runs through the kicking leg and there is no forcible contact. All other contact shall be based on the severity and the potential for injury to the kicker. Standard 4, on kicks into the end zone, when in question, during the return, the ball has not left the end zone. Standard 5, when in question, a foul by the receiving team on a scrimmage kick occurs after the ball is kicked. Standard 6, when in question, the kicker is outside the tackle box. Standard 7, the intent of the scrimmage kick formation numbering exception is to allow teams to make substitutions that are not deceptive. When in question, it is not a scrimmage kick formation. Plays at the sideline. 4 standards. Standard 1, substitution mechanics will be used in a situation in which a play ends with team, a player, or players going out of bounds into their own team area. Standard 2, if legal contact occurs before the runner has a foot down out of bounds, consider it a legal hit. If runners have obviously given themselves up very near the sideline and forcible contact is made attempting to punish, a foul should be called. Standard 3, if the whistle has blown and a runner continuing to advance down the sideline has eased up, contact by the opponent against the runner is a foul. Officials should be alert and be sure any action is not part of the initial play before calling a foul. Standard 4, when in question as to whether the runner stepped out of bounds, officials should rule the runner did not step out of bounds. Scoring plays. 3 standards. Standard 1, when in question, it is not a touchdown. Standard 2, when in question, it is not a safety. Standard 3, when in question, it is a touchdown when a non-airborne runner crosses the goal inside the pylon, with the ball crossing the goal line extended. 2 defaults say no, 1 says yes. The pylon standard is specific. A non-airborne runner, the ball crossing the extended goal line, and the runner inside the pylon. All 3 are required. Personal fouls. 5 standards. Standard 1, if action is deemed to be fighting, the player must be ejected. No judgment, no discretion. Ejection is mandatory. Standard 2, when in question whether an act is a flagrant personal foul or fighting, the player is not fighting. The more serious charge requires certainty. Standard 3, players committing flagrant personal fouls must be ejected. Standard 4, regarding hits away from the ball near the end of the play, when in question, consider it a dead ball rather than a live ball foul. Standard 5, regarding defenseless players, when in question, a player is defenseless. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6 standards. Standard 1, when in question whether an unsportsmanlike act is a live ball or dead ball foul, it is a dead ball foul. Standard 2, do not be overly technical in applying Rule 921. Standard 3, allow for brief, spontaneous, emotional reactions at the end of a play. Standard 4, beyond brief spontaneous bursts of energy, officials should flag acts that are clearly prolonged, self-congratulatory, and that make a mockery of the game. Standard 5, the list of specifically prohibited acts in Rule 92101 is illustrative, not exhaustive. When those acts are clearly intended to taunt or demean, they should be penalized. Standard 6, spitting on an opponent requires ejection. Game clock. 4 standards. Standard 1, when in question, a charged team timeout precedes a foul that prevents the snap. Exception, when Team A has been flagged for a pre-snap illegal substitution foul. A timeout called at the same time by Team A does not negate the foul. Standard 2, any time lost due to the clock being started erroneously, such as when a dead ball foul is called, the clock must be adjusted. Standard 3, the 5-5 axiom. In order to adjust game clock errors, there must be more than a 5-second differential if there is more than 5 minutes remaining in either half. Standard 4, as a guideline, when there is between 2 and 5 minutes remaining in a half, and the clock is stopped to complete a penalty by the team ahead in the score, or the score is tied, the referee should consider invoking Rule 343 and afford the offended team the option of starting the game clock on the snap. If the score of the game is not competitive, the referee should not invoke Rule 343 in this situation. Miscellaneous. 2 standards. Standard 1, the ankle or wrist is considered part of the foot or hand, respectively, and does not make a runner down. Standard 2, during a timeout, if a team huddles near the sideline, all players, coaches, and team personnel must remain outside the numbers and in front of the team area. Collaborative replay. This section covers the duties and procedures that govern how the replay booth and the on-field crew work together. There are 4 phases. Phase 1, pregame duties. Test all communications with the stadium replay booth at the scheduled time prior to kickoff. Take part in the replay booth pregame and review all in-game procedures and mechanics. Review the camera layout, including camera names and locations, and which cameras are available directly to the replay booth. Important note, no broadcast audio is available to the replay official. Phase 2, before the play. Monitor the pre-snap routine from the replay booth. Know the game situation at all times. Field position, down and distance, time remaining, and clock status. Pay special attention to anything that may have an impact on what happens next. Fourth down situations. Plays following the 2-minute timeout. Phase 3, during the play. Work through each layer of the play in order. The snap or kick, the transfer of the football, either by handoff or pass, the action around the ball carrier, the end of down, and the clock status. Identify reviewable aspects that may have a significant impact on the game. Phase 4, after the play. Be an active listener to communication in the booth. Look for the status of the football and the ruling on the field. Ensure all reviewable aspects are considered. Both the booth replay official and the collaborative replay official have the authority to stop the game for further video review. The collaborative replay official will confirm the booth replay official's decisions to clear scores and turnovers. During a review, the collaborative and booth replay official will ensure all reviewable aspects of the play are considered, all pertinent angles and replays are viewed, and all decisions, rules, and enforcement aspects are correct. If there is an aspect of the review being overlooked, either official will offer input immediately at that point. And if the process or decision in the booth is incorrect or headed down the wrong path, either official will take decisive action. Now let's go through the full list of when in question defaults from Section 3. These are not situational guidelines. These are the official default rulings. Know every one of them. False start versus illegal motion. It is a false start. Fumble or not down. The runner fumbled and was not down. Pass or fumble by the quarterback. It is a fumble. DPI. Was the pass uncatchable? The pass must be blatantly uncatchable to disregard a foul for pass interference. Quarterback outside the tackle box throwing away. The ball is beyond the neutral zone. Don't be technical. Quarterback in or out of the tackle box. The quarterback is outside the tackle box. Runner stepped out of bounds. The runner did not step out of bounds. Kick. Did the ball stay in the end zone on the return? The ball has not left the end zone. Receiving team foul on a scrimmage kick. The foul occurs after the ball is kicked. Kicker in or outside the tackle box. The kicker is outside the tackle box. Scrimmage kick formation numbering exception. When in question, it is not a scrimmage kick formation. Touchdown or not, it is not a touchdown. Exception, non-airborne runner near the pylon with ball crossing the goal line extended. It is a touchdown. Safety or not, it is not a safety. Defenseless player, the player is defenseless. Hit away from the ball near the end of the play. It is a dead ball foul. Flagrant personal foul or fighting. The player is not fighting. It is a flagrant personal foul. Unsportsmanlike conduct, live ball or dead ball. It is a dead ball foul. Team timeout or foul first before the snap. The timeout precedes the foul. Illegal block, did it occur in the end zone or field of play? It occurred in the field of play. Blocking below the waist, was the ball in the tackle box? The ball has not left the tackle box. Los, was an ineligible player covered up? When in question, they are not covered up. Know those defaults. They are the standard. And that is Section 3 of the CCA Football Officiating Manual, all officiating standards complete. Let's bring it home with the 9 themes that run through everything we covered. Ball spotting. Move to the nearest yard line after a change of possession, except on fourth down plays. Leave punts down inside the 5. Line of scrimmage. 3-tier test for ineligible linemen. Helmet over waistline is legal. Helmet between waistline and rear end gets a warning. Clearly behind the rear end gets an immediate flag. False start beats illegal motion as the default every time. Trick plays get the highest scrutiny. Fumbles. When in doubt, it is a fumble, not down, not a pass. 2 defaults that protect ball security rulings. Pass interference. DPI has 6 categories. OPI has 4 categories and 3 specific exceptions. Early contact without ball playing is always DPI when the other requirements are met. Blocking. The point of attack determines whether holding should be called. Intentional takedowns always get a flag. Restraint on double team holds. Kicking and sideline. The restraining line is a plane. Roughing versus running into the kicker is about forcible contact to the plant leg. On the sideline, the substitution mechanic applies whenever team A exits into their team area. Scoring and fouls. When in doubt, not a TD, not a safety. Near end of play hits default to dead ball. Spitting and fighting both require ejection. Flagrant personal fouls require ejection. Game clock, the 5-5 axiom for error adjustments. Timeouts precede pre-snap fouls, except for the illegal substitution exception. Rule 343 is the referee's tool in competitive close game situations late in a half. Collaborative replay. For phases govern the process from pre-game setup through the review itself. Both the booth official and the collaborative official can stop the game. When the process is going wrong, either official takes decisive action immediately. That is Section 3. Know every standard. Apply every default. That is the standard the CCA has set for every NCAA game. Thanks for joining Ref Me Up 2.0. I hope you got 1% better today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Rookie Guide. Ref Me Up 2.0, the Rookie Guide CCA Football Officiating
Well, that's a wrap for this section. Hopefully y'all learned something today. If you made it all the way through, then you're a real one, and I hope it brought you closer to your goals. Go ahead and subscribe and share with the football official, fan,